You know that feeling, when you're sitting in the dark, and suddenly every single light in the arena goes out? That split second of pure, electric silence before everything explodes? That is exactly where we are right now with the WWE Elimination Chamber. Because Triple H just walked into a room, looked straight into the camera, and said something that nobody, and I mean nobody, saw coming. And once you hear this, once you truly understand what is being built right now behind the curtain, you are going to lose your mind. Stay with me. Because this is not just another announcement. This is the beginning of something that could redefine the entire landscape of WWE for the next year. Welcome back to Wrestling Impact. Let's get into it. Alright, so let's set the scene first. Triple H, the Game, the cerebral assassin, the man who went from being one of the greatest heels in the history of professional wrestling to the absolute architect of WWE's creative future, has been playing chess while everyone else has been playing checkers. We have seen it happen in real time. The returns, the storytelling, the long-term booking that actually respects the audience's intelligence. And for months now, fans have been watching the pieces move across the board, wondering, where is all of this going? What is the master plan? And what does the Elimination Chamber have to do with it? Well, Triple H just answered that question. And buckle up, because this is a wild ride. Now, for those of you who might be newer to the WWE universe, let me give you a quick refresher on what the Elimination Chamber actually is. Not the match, you probably know the match, but what it means historically. The Elimination Chamber is one of the most brutal, most cinematic, most emotionally devastating structures in all of professional wrestling. 6 superstars, steel chains, bulletproof glass pods, cold, unforgiving metal grating under your feet. It is not just a match, it is a survival story. And every single year, the chamber produces moments that people talk about for decades. You do not walk into the Elimination Chamber as the same person you were when you walked out. It changes people. It defines careers. It ends legacies. And it launches new ones. And what Triple H has done, what he has revealed, suggests that this year's chamber is being positioned as the most consequential one in modern WWE history. Here is where things get genuinely fascinating. Triple H has been quietly hinting in interviews and appearances that the chamber cards this year are not just going to be title matches leading into WrestleMania season. No, he has described them as what he called, quote, essential crossroads moments. Think about what that phrase means. A crossroads is not just a fork in the road. A crossroads is a place where destinies change, where one choice echoes for years. He said the chamber events are going to force superstars into situations where their entire futures are decided in a single night. And the secret, the thing he let slip, is that multiple title pictures are going to be completely restructured through the chamber matches, not after them. Meaning the WrestleMania card itself is going to be shaped almost entirely by what happens inside that cold, steel structure. Now think about what that means for the stars we are watching right now. Think about every rivalry simmering on both Raw and SmackDown. Think about every championship reign, every unfinished piece of business, every grudge that has been building with no clear resolution. Triple H is essentially saying, you want answers? The chamber is where you get them. And not the kind of answers where you get a neat little bow wrapped around everything. The kind of answers that break hearts, that make jaws drop. The kind that have you rewinding your television at midnight saying, did that actually just happen? And here is the layer underneath the layer, because Triple H never does anything without multiple layers. He also hinted that the chamber format itself may see some creative evolution this year. Now he was careful, very careful with his words. He is a strategic communicator. But reading between the lines of what he said, there is a strong suggestion that the way superstars enter the chamber, the rules governing the pods, potentially even the number of competitors, could be altered to serve the specific storytelling needs of particular matches. And that is huge. Because the Elimination Chamber has always been defined by its rigid structure. 6 competitors, 5 pods, 1 already in the ring, timed intervals. That is the formula. If Triple H is willing to bend that formula even slightly, it means the stories being told inside that structure are dramatic enough to demand something different. Something unprecedented. Imagine a chamber match where the pod assignments are not random, where enemies are strategically placed across from each other, forced to stare through the glass knowing that one of them has to be the one to open that pod door first. Imagine the psychological warfare of that. The mind games before a single punch is thrown. Triple H understands psychology better than almost anyone in the history of this business. As a performer, he weaponized it. As a creative mind, he architects it. And if he is telling us the chamber is going to be a crossroads, you better believe the psychological chess match starts the moment those pods are announced. Now let's talk about the landscape heading into this chamber, because you cannot understand the gravity of the announcement without understanding the current state of play across WWE. And right now, oh man, right now, both brands are absolutely stacked with compelling stories. On one side, you have championship situations that are powder kegs with the fuses already lit. Reigns that have been built with such meticulous care that the idea of them ending feels devastating, and yet you know it has to happen eventually, and when it does, it has to happen in a moment worthy of the story. The chamber could be exactly that moment. Or it could be the moment that makes the ending even more inevitable, even more emotionally loaded by the time WrestleMania rolls around. On the other side, you have challengers, hungry, furious, desperate challengers who have been knocking on doors that will not open, who have been this close, who the audience has watched bleed and fight and pour everything they have into these rivalries only to come up short. And you know what happens when a person who has been denied enough times finally gets one more shot inside the most unforgiving structure on the planet? You get desperation. You get unpredictability. You get the kind of performance where someone reaches down into a place they have never accessed before and finds something extraordinary. That is what makes the chamber electric. Not just the steel. Not just the chains. It is the human stories walking through those curtains. And Triple H knows this. He said, and this is the part that really stopped me, he said that this year's chamber matches were designed specifically to give certain superstars what he called their defining chapter. Not their defining moment. Their defining chapter. A chapter is not a single scene. A chapter is a sequence of events, a full arc with a beginning, middle, and end. He is telling us that what happens in the chamber is not going to be a standalone shocking moment. It is going to be a chapter in a much larger story, which means whatever twists and turns happen inside that structure are going to echo. They are going to matter 3 months from now, 6 months from now, maybe longer. Let me paint you a picture of what that could look like. Imagine a competitor who has been on the absolute edge, a superstar the crowd has fully invested in, someone who has been on the receiving end of a feud that has felt deeply personal and painful. They enter that chamber as the underdog. The crowd is behind them but terrified for them. And as the match progresses, as bodies pile up and the structure itself seems to close in, the superstar finds another gear. The crowd rises. The noise builds. And then in a moment that nobody predicted, they do something extraordinary. They find a way. And as the final bell rings, and they stand in the center of that chamber, exhausted, broken, bleeding maybe, but standing, the arena just erupts. And in that moment, a chapter closes. And a new one begins. That is what Triple H is building toward. This is also why the announcement about multiple title pictures being restructured through the chamber is so significant. Because it is not just about who wins and who loses. It is about the domino effect. One chamber result tips over a domino, which trips another, which crashes into a third, and suddenly by the time WrestleMania season arrives, the entire landscape looks different than it did going in. The card writes itself, but only if the chamber does its job. And Triple H is confident it will. More than confident. He said it with the kind of quiet, knowing certainty of someone who has already seen the blueprint and knows what it produces. Now, I want to take a second to acknowledge something that I think gets lost sometimes in these conversations. We talk a lot about the business mechanics, the storytelling structure, the booking decisions, the championship logistics, and all of that matters. But what truly matters is what happens in that building, in that moment, between a performer and an audience. The Elimination Chamber has a unique magic that is almost impossible to replicate. There is something about watching a human being survive impossible odds inside a steel structure, with the crowd knowing that the person in there has nothing left to hide behind, no shortcuts, no safety nets, just heart, and guts, and will. And when those two things connect, performance and crowd, it becomes something more than wrestling. It becomes something genuinely moving. The kind of thing you remember where you were when you saw it. Triple H understands that. He lived it from inside the ring, and now he is engineering it from the outside. Which is why this announcement carries so much weight. He is not just building a pay-per-view event. He is not just filling a card with matches. He is constructing an experience that is supposed to make you feel something you have not felt before. And based on everything he revealed, the Crossroads narrative, the creative evolution of the format, the multiple title pictures in play, the defining chapter framework, he may just pull it off. Now here is the question I want to leave you with, because Wrestling Impact is always about conversation, always about the community, always about your voice in this story. Given everything that Triple H has set up, given the superstars currently positioned on both brands, given the stakes he has described, who do you think walks into the Elimination Chamber and walks out completely transformed? Whose story gets its defining chapter? And maybe more importantly, who do you think Triple H has been protecting this whole time, quietly building toward a chamber moment that is going to blow the roof off the arena? Because I have my theories, and they are keeping me up at night in the absolute best way. The pieces are on the board. The chamber is coming. And if Triple H is right, and he usually is, we are about to watch something truly special unfold. If you are locked in for the ride, and I know you are, smash the like button right now, because this community is growing and every single one of you is part of something real here. Drop your chamber predictions in the comments. I read every single one, and I want to know what you think is coming. And if you are not subscribed to Wrestling Impact yet, what are you even doing? Hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications, because we are in the middle of WWE's most exciting creative period in years, and you do not want to miss a single breakdown, a single analysis, a single moment of this unfolding story. This is Wrestling Impact, and we are just getting started. Outro music builds, crowd roar fades in one final time, then cuts.